I'm ready to start experiencing new things. I want my own adventure.
It's Kitty's time to shine, so let's break down everything that happened in EXO Kitty Season 1 and find out just what happened. What's up, you lovely people? Lisa here, and it is time to talk about all things EXO Kitty Season 1. Now, was this show cute? Sure. Was it chaotic because they crammed too many rom-com and YA tropes and plotlines into one season? You bet. Did it make me cringe a lot? Yep. But will I be seated if there is a Season 2? Absolutely. Now, as always, I'm going to have time codes down below so you can skip ahead to whatever section of this video you want, and my personal thoughts will be at the very end of the video, but obviously there are spoilers ahead, so let's just dive into this chaotic season that's charming but a mess.
This whole week, all I've been hearing is Day, necklace, Yuri, Alex, necklace, Alex, Yuri, Day, necklace.
Now, just in case you forgot, this is a spin-off of the To All the Boys I've Loved Before movies and book series. Kitty is the youngest of the Song Covey sisters. Now, Kitty is entering her junior year of school, and nothing says I'm mature enough now to go away to boarding school. I'm an adult, than the classic removal of the glasses. Now, after discovering her mom's stuff in the attic and finding out her mom went to this Korean international school called KISS on scholarship, Kitty applies for that same scholarship and gets in last minute, then does what everyone does in order to convince their parents to let them do something ridiculous as a kid. You give a presentation. But honestly, it worked out for Emma Stone in her acting career, so maybe we should all be doing this. Well, this school just so happens to be where Kitty's long-distance boyfriend Day goes to school, and if you don't remember him, they met when the sisters traveled around South Korea in the third To All the Boys movie, and yes, they did end up recasting the actor, which is why you can kind of tell that the flashback footage looks a little wonky. Now, anyway, Kitty is now on her way to South Korea, and of course, we get a cameo by the creator Jenny Han and the classic Kitty introduction. Then Kitty sets off to South Korea to learn more about her culture and mother. Just kidding, she honestly barely does any of that and instead just falls into a web of love interests and secrets. Like, honestly, I'm a little bit mad that we didn't get to explore Korea more in this show. Some of these pictures were even green screen, and you're just like, really, guys? Really? I hope if there is a season 2, we get to explore the city a bit more, because I want to see that and the culture. Back to the plot of this show, right? Did I mention that Kitty did not mention any of this today and is planning to surprise him at the school's welcome party with like a, hey, guess what? I traveled across the world. I'm coming to school with you. Yeah, for a girl who claims to know so much about love, she should know big surprises like that never work out. Well, when she's at the airport, Kitty runs into this guy who gets the slow-mo entrance at the airport, and you know this is someone automatically you're going to be seeing later. You know, he goes to her school but pretends to not speak English, rudely bumps into her, and you kind of know where this is going, right? This is our cliche bad boy. He's not really bad, but he's the too cool for school guy. Now, when Kitty arrives in Korea, she conveniently, of course, misses her bus and must find a way to the school and gets hit by a car in a typical rom-com meet-cute fashion, and enter Yuri. Now, Yuri is the daughter of a hotel mogul and of course the principal at the school, Principal Gina Lim. I'll probably call her Gina moving forward, but it's Principal Lim, and thus kicks off our adventure with Kitty abroad. Well, now when we see Day, he is struggling to pay his tuition. We learn he's kind of told Kitty a bunch of lies about his family life, and he's given till the end of the day to figure out how to pay for this. Meanwhile, Yuri is called in to see her mom, who brings up how Yuri's friend Juliana's housekeeper saw them in a pretty close situation last week, and Juliana's parents have called her and they need to figure out what's going on. Now, Yuri denies that anything is happening between her and her friend Juliana and says she hasn't been sneaking around with her. Instead, all summer she's been sneaking around with someone else who her parents wouldn't approve of. And of course, now her mom wants to meet him at the welcome party. She assumes it's a him, and this enters our fake relationship, because we see when Yuri is in the car with Kitty talking about having someone and is texting someone on her phone, she has them listed as baby, so you have to wonder who could that be. Well, as far as Kitty knows, that person is going to be Day. So at the welcome party, Kitty is in for quite the surprise when she does the typical slow motion run into Day's arms, and if this was a regular rom-com, they would be kissing, right? The reunion, it's supposed to be magical. Well, no, she doesn't get the first kiss she dreamed of. Instead, she's like stopped in her tracks when Yuri walks up and is like, oh, hey Kitty, this is my boyfriend Day who I was telling you about, and you can just see Kitty's world come crumbling down. We also end up meeting Minho and Q, Dae's roommates and friends. Q is the track star who is gay and has a crush on a guy named Florian, who Kitty eventually uses her matchmaking skills on to hook them up. And honestly, you should take a shot every time she mentions she's a matchmaker in this show. Then Minho, of course, is the rude guy she met at the airport, who is the rich son of a famous actor and does not care for Kitty in the slightest. And like I said, this is a very predictable show, and I bet you can predict where that's going to go by the end of the season. But back to the standard fake relationship. Well, it's one of those things where it was only supposed to last for a day or so, just to throw Yuri's parents off the scent that Yuri was in fact dating her best friend Juliana all summer and is gay. So it was a beneficial thing for both of them. Dae was supposed to be her beard, and in turn Dae needed the money for school, which Yuri ended up paying for. Seems like a win-win, right? Well, no, because along the way, all these little things keep happening, causing them to have to extend the relationship, which just makes Dae's lies to Kitty grow and messes up their relationship even more. There's things like Yuri's dad, who's an asshat and treats his employees like crap, having to fix his image, so he flaunts the fact that his chauffeur's son, who is Dae, is dating his daughter and gives him this new internship. He's like, oh, philanthropy, I'm such a good man. And it's like, I wanted to punch this man's face throughout the whole season. And I know the actor who plays Dae's dad is a famous Korean actor, but you can't tell me that he does not look like Jimmy Fallon, right? Anyway, Yuri ends up finding out that Juliana won't be coming back to school, but Juliana tells her parents have caught wind of Yuri and Dae, so if Yuri can keep that lie up a little bit longer, then the two won't have any trouble sneaking off together as so-called friends to see the Northern Lights and DJs at Christmas and whatever they had planned. But you get the point. Lies and just jealousy and little things keep extending this relationship. Now, Dae wants so badly to tell Kitty the truth, and Kitty has obviously picked up on the fact that it's a fake relationship because, well, she knows love and she knows fake relationships. Because remember, Peter and Laura Jean? We do learn in this movie, by the way, that Peter and Laura Jean are still together. And, well, Dae gets pretty close to trying to tell Kitty everything, even gets the go-ahead from Yuri, and like I said, every little thing seems to set them back 5 steps after they make progress, because when Dae learns that Kitty has revealed a secret he told her about Minho, he just doesn't trust Kitty as much with the reasons why he's fake dating Yuri. Now, after Yuri finds emails on her mom's computer that prove that her mom is the reason why Juliana wasn't allowed to come back to school, Yuri goes against her mom's wishes and finally sets up a public breakup with Dae in front of the paparazzi, which leads Dae back to Kitty, and they have their magical first kiss, and it's just kind of like, this seems like it should be the great ending point for season 1 for these two, right? No, they were like, we can't let this be like that, no way. Instead, we have Dae not wanting to confront anything, and instead of like talking to Kitty and whatever, he just keeps making out with her. Yeah, they're making up for lost time because they've been talking for 4 years, but it's kind of like, dude, she wants to know things. He just doesn't want to be honest with her, not about the Yuri part because that's her story to tell, but about, needing the money or getting kicked out of school, stuff like that. Yeah, he chooses to just keep making out with her. Well, it wouldn't be a proper rom-com without some big romantic gesture, and he does do that. They say, I love you, but then things again get more complicated because all the lying that Dae has done, and Kitty as well in certain areas, it just makes Kitty realize that there's more fish in the sea and maybe she has feelings for someone else. So what does Dae do? Well, in the finale, he runs after Kitty at the airport because that is a standard rom-com thing that you do, but I'll talk about that more in a bit. Now you see, in addition to love, Kitty is there to learn more about her mom, and she's brought along some stuff of her mom's, and it's those photos and feeling closer to her mom that actually make Kitty stay at the school after her breakup with Dae. She, could have just been like, see ya. But of course, Kitty has a hard time escaping Dae since the school mistakes her name for a boy's name and puts her in a room with Dae, Q, and Minho. Meanwhile, Kitty does get it cleared up, but then she's given the roommate from hell who live streams 24/7 and is a mess and even posted a video of Kitty sleeping. So she moves back in with the boys secretly since the staff won't do anything to help her out because there's no other rooms for her. Now this is kind of ridiculous because it's like, if someone was invading my privacy like that, wouldn't you want to fix that, guys? Like, yeah, this seems like a liability of some sort, and like, this girl's obviously just playing games all day. Is she hacking the system with her grades? Like, why is no one checking up on this girl once Kitty complained? I gotta remember to not think logically while watching these shows and suspend belief because nothing ever make sense on these things. But during this time, as she's living with the boys, she grows close to Q, obviously, and she eventually finds this hospital bracelet with her mom's name on it from 1993, and this sends her on the path of trying to figure out what happened to her mom's secret baby. Now enter the parental secrets, and you see that Kitty learns that Principal Gina Lim, aka Yuri's mom, was friends with her mom Eve, but when Kitty tries to bring that up to Gina, Gina brushes it off. So what the heck happened to these two? Well, Kitty sets off on a mission thinking that she's got this secret sibling, even breaking into the hospital records room using her matchmaking skills. Like what? To distract a nurse and put her together with the janitor? It's one of many eye roll moments in this series, but you know what? Kitty learns that her mom had a baby in 1993 that was adopted to Australia. And she ends up getting busted while in that records room, but doesn't really get in trouble. Like, the teacher comes to help her out, and you're like, nah, that girl probably would have been held for a while. But this sets off some bells for Kitty, as there's this new young teacher named Professor Alex Finnerty, who is the one who comes and saves her and bails her out of the whole records room thing, and he is from Australia, and he seems about the right age. Alex eventually reveals to Kitty that he's here because he did an ancestry test, because he's adopted, and it led him to a nephew of Professor Lee's, who's the strict by-the-books teacher that nobody really likes, and definitely he does not like Kitty. So he came to the school to, teach and kind of sussly out to determine if he wants a relationship with him at all. Well, he kind of learns that Lee has no idea that he exists, and Lee doesn't even like kids. After Kitty fills Alex in and they think that they could be half siblings, they do more digging and end up finding a picture of Gina and Eve in the yearbook, which, Gina has tried so hard to get rid of all the copies, but thankfully Professor Lee has a copy in his house that Kitty and Yuri steal. Well, Kitty realizes that her mom was not the one pregnant in 1993, but Gina was. So Alex is actually Gina's baby with Professor Lee. Oh, the tangled web of secret relationships. Now, Alex eventually does confront Gina with the news, and she comes clean to her jerk of a husband who just wants her to pay Alex to go away because it's going to ruin their image, of course. And she ends up coming clean to Yuri, Professor Lee, and Alex. She ended up getting pregnant at 16, and as to not ruin her family's image or Professor Lee's future and whatnot, Kitty's mom let Gina use her name for the birth. So we'll have to see how that family relationship and the revelations play out if there is a season 2, but we have a reconnection of first loves with Gina and Professor Lee. You could kind of feel like there was something going on between the two of them until it was finally revealed, and you're like, knew it. Now remember when I said Kitty may have feelings for someone else? Well, get ready for this love mess square spiral thing. After lots of drama, we see Yuri and Kitty actually start to become friends. And well, after a night of drinking at the club after Day and Kitty have broken up and Kitty is looking for someone new to have a kiss with, Kitty realizes she has a crush on Yuri. Now, during the talent show, after Kitty and Yuri are arguing over Kitty not telling her about Alex, Kitty crashes and burns quite literally, and Minho is the one who runs to her rescue, and Day sees all of this, so when Kitty finally confesses to Day that she has feelings for someone else, he immediately thinks it's Minho, but she says it's not him. It's actually Yuri. So after that drunken night, Kitty has had a sexy dream about Yuri, and every time Yuri touches her to help her put a necklace on or do something, it makes Kitty's little heart flutter. While Kitty does tell Day that it's not Minho, newsflash, Minho does in fact have a crush on Kitty, because as much as he tried to pretend like he hated her or didn't care throughout the season, you knew from his entrance on the show that the enemies to lover plot was going to be here, and it was going to be a love triangle. We just thought it was going to be a love triangle between the two dudes and Kitty. We weren't accounting for Yuri, but we kind of knew that this was coming, right, with Minho? Yeah, well, after living with her for a while and trying to put on this I hate you act, we see that he actually starts to fall for her and care for her, remembering things about her that Day doesn't even know, like Kitty not liking mayo. And once Minho called her Covey, just like Peter called Laura Jean, you kind of knew it was solidified that this man was into her, and that we would see this sort of by the end of the season.
Do something. You owe me, Cubby.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically Kitty has opened Minho's eyes and made him realize he doesn't want to be a player anymore. He wants something more. Kitty just doesn't know this yet about Minho. And we have Kitty telling Day that she has feelings for Yuri, which causes their breakup and Day to be upset. Rightfully so, because she had these feelings like as they got back together. So he was like, why even get back together with me? Anyway, Kitty does come out to her dad, even though she's not really sure how she identifies yet. And you just gotta love John Corbett being the supportive father. Okay, that was a lot, but the final bit of the show, we have Kitty learning she's been expelled, but not because of her grades, because the whole show she was too involved in everybody else's drama that she was failing all their classes, until everyone bands together, of course, to help her study, and she does indeed pass. So why is she being expelled? Well, because it's found out that she's secretly been living in the boys' dorm, which breaks some kind of rule of conduct in her scholarship's fine print. Now, even when Kitty tries to plead to Principal Lim about her case and all the violations of the female roommate they stuck her with, none of it is heard. So Kitty's heading to the airport to return home. That's when we see Day run after her to the airport in the classic run to the airport thing and try to win her back. But before he can really say anything, Kitty has just made up her mind and says that Day was the perfect first boyfriend. They'll always be each other's first love. There'll always be love there, but she thinks it's time to move on. And you can see that Day is heartbroken. I do kind of feel sorry for him that he just didn't get to let his feelings out either, but he just goes with it and agrees. I kind of wonder if Day had been given the chance to speak his mind and apologize, would it have even made a difference? Or were there already too many lies between both of them to just say, we need this break? And I feel like they're kind of that couple that in like 15 years or so will get back together. Just think of like lost first loves, or like first loves reconnecting like Gina and Professor Lee are. Maybe that'll be Kitty and Day way down in the future. But that's not the only event at the airport, because in true rom-com fashion, as soon as Kitty turns to leave Day, she finds Yuri at the airport, and Kitty's about to spill all about her crush on Yuri when Juliana comes running in, because Yuri is there to pick up Juliana from the airport. You know, Kitty helped Yuri get in touch with Juliana, and now they're back together since Yuri has come out. Well, Kitty's kind of like, great, and doesn't get to Professor Love and instead goes and gets her on her plane. But then someone next to Kitty on this plane starts bumping her rudely, and the rude bump, yep, guess what? It's Minho, who is on the plane to see his mom in LA, and you kind of gotta wonder if there's some kind of connecting flight situation here because Kitty lives in Portland. But even so, another question is like, why is Minho flying coach? That man would never be caught dead in coach. And well, it's because he thought Kitty could use a friend, and well, after finding out that it's really over with her and Day, he throws any shred of bro code out the window just like that and tells Kitty he's in love with her. And of course, that's where the show ends, and we don't get to see what Kitty's response would be, but she looks pretty shocked. There was no real signs that she kind of felt that way towards Minho, I thought. I mean, maybe a little bit, but not as out there. So maybe now that he's said something, she is that kind of person who seems like she would fall hard and fast for anybody that says they like her. So I feel like she might be into that. But it was exhausting, all that, right? Yeah, that's not even all the plot yet. We still have some other things, like Q learning that his boyfriend Florian cheated on all his exams to stay at the school with Q, and this in turn bumps Day out of the #1 spot in the class ranking, and we hear Day say that this could cause him to lose his room and board scholarship. That's kind of a weird scholarship to say that you can't keep this unless you're absolutely #1. That seems a little harsh. Maybe like saying you have to be in the top 10 in your class, but #1? I don't know if I'm buying it. Also, if Kitty is expelled, how could there be a season 2, right? Well, Yuri is the solution for that. We see that Yuri looks out for Kitty a few times on the show, and after greeting Juliana at the airport, Yuri makes a call to her mother saying, I don't think you should expel Kitty, because if you are you going to expel the boys too? I mean, this is a very valid point, even though I don't think any of those boys, but maybe Day, are on scholarship. But they're just as guilty. Also, Yuri ended up living with them for a few days too, so she could throw that in there being like, well, I also lived there and you didn't know, should you expel me too? And we know that Principal Lin would not expel her own kid. So after everything, I feel like that's going to get Kitty back next semester, but did anyone else notice the daggers coming from Juliana's eyes each time Yuri brings up Kitty, and how she hugs Juliana but then all of a sudden mentions Kitty and then excuses herself to go make a call for Kitty? Like, I think there's going to be some drama with Kitty and Juliana if there's a season 2. Also, we do know that Kitty is the one who took Juliana's spot at the school in the first place. Now, when we first meet Principal Lim, she tells Yuri that, Juliana's parents called me this morning. But when Yuri finds those emails, you look at the dates, and it seems like her mom had been in communication with those parents for at least a week and knew what she was doing and kicked Juliana out and gave that last minute spot to Kitty. But yeah, that's essentially now everything. I don't even know if this dang video made sense because I just got confused watching it. Even though it is pretty straightforward as to what happens, it's just so much and it's such a tangled little web. But yeah, Kitty went to South Korea, and for someone who claims to know so much about love, I think this show just proves that she really knows nothing. Okay, but now for my personal review and thoughts on the show. Like I said, this is a cute show and the cast is very charming and they are what really sells this. But this show is a train wreck. Season 1 is chaotic, it gets messy, it's very predictable and overstuffed with too many plot lines. But I will say, like, the cast does a good job. And I feel like the show is pretty divisive among people. People that just love a good rom-com cliche thing are loving it. It sounds like a lot of K-dramas are similar to this, as are American rom-coms and YA dramas and stuff like that. I personally feel like they could have just saved some of that stuff for season 2 and then just let some of those other storylines breathe a little bit. The fact that they made Kitty, as much as I love the representation, her all of a sudden then have a crush on Yuri and then also Minho coming in at the end, I was like, oh, maybe they could have teased the Yuri crush or something a little later and made that the kind of cliffhanger, because I think we all knew that Minho would be a slow burn of a build-up, and even if they had made that in season 2, I think we would still be invested seeing that we know Minho's side of things and that he likes Kitty. I don't think we needed to see him profess it to her yet, but just ended on like them being on the plane together. I think that could have been good before the profession of love from him. But I just feel like it was way too many tropes crammed into one show that none of them got to breathe, none of them got to be fleshed out and live up to the potential. It was just kind of like, oh, okay. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. But let's talk about unanswered questions we have going into a possible season 2. What was Kitty's reaction to Minho's confession? They obviously have this very long plane ride, and either they're going to talk or things are going to be awkward. Maybe they'll spend more of winter break together. We'll see. Will Kitty end up getting back into school? I feel like we're going to lean towards yes, obviously, if there's a season 2. Will Juliana return to the school the next semester because Kitty's the one who took her spot in the first place? Will there be some spots opening up? How many kids actually drop out mid-semester or mid-year? Will Day lose his scholarship? Now, his scholarship made it seem like it was room and board only, because we do know that Yuri's parents, or Yuri technically, I guess, paid for Day's tuition. It seemed like Day didn't live too far away, so losing room and board isn't the like end of the world unless they're required to actually live on campus. Now, will Gina and Professor Lee reconnect, and maybe will we see any change in Professor Lee now that he learns that he had a kid, and his relationship with Alex, who he was not nice to the whole show. I'm curious if that relationship will change. And then we have Q. Is he going to break up with Florian because of the cheating on the tests, or what? Because I don't even know. I liked Florian, but now I don't know if I can trust that man, even though he says he did it all in the name of love. We're just going to have to wait and see, because as of filming this video right now, the show has not been picked up for a season 2, but it is doing great numbers on Netflix. And seeing as how Netflix is, now spending a lot more money on Korean original programming, I feel like this show kind of bridges that gap, for better or for worse, and I could see them absolutely renewing the show. And if not, I guess I'll have to come back to this video and eat my words. But I want to know, what did you think of XO Kitty and this ending? How did you feel about the show in general? Are you feeling similar to me, like it was too much in one season, or are you cool with all these tropes and crazy things happening at once? Did it keep your attention? Who do you think Kitty should be with, Day or Minho, or maybe even Yuri, even though the Yuri thing does seem like it's one-sided, that Kitty's crushing on her and Yuri has no idea? Or should Kitty, honestly, I think Kitty just needs to take some time for herself and actually go explore Seoul with Q and learn about Seoul and Korea and maybe I just want to see Korea myself. That's why I need to go there. But yeah, who are you feeling if you had to choose one of those that Kitty should be with? Like, Dae's a nice guy, but he wasn't really bringing much for me. And Minho, sure, he's hot and he's the bad boy who she's changed, but does he really offer much when it comes to relationship? I don't know. Let me know all your thoughts and theories down in the comments below. And after that, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and check out more of my videos right over here. I don't know. I have an interview with Anna Cathcart that might be fun to watch. Let me know. But as always, my name is Lisa, and thanks for listening to me ramble. I guess I will see you next time. Thanks for sticking out with me with this crazy rambling video.